Hey, what's up guys? This is Church of Caboose, and for this Destiny 2 video, it is a guide for the Encounter Deep Stone Crypt Raid, the first one, Cyber Security. We're going to talk just a little bit about how you get to that part with the Sparrow Race Pike thing, but the majority is going to be on the Crypt Security Encounter. I have a visual that my wife, Crazy Corgi Queen, put together, so let me know down below if this guide was helpful, and I'm particularly curious what you guys think of the visual, because we got some feedback from clan members to try and put together a guide that would be as easy as possible for someone who's never done a raid before to watch this video and be like, I know exactly what's going on, and to relatively quickly get the encounter done with all of their friends. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know down below what you think of the video, as well as if you'd like to see a video for each future encounter, and if you like the visuals. Those are kind of the three things. So just real briefly, to get to this encounter, you have to first, go through this little like Sparrow Pike race thing, and there are a couple of cheese glitch kinds of things you can do to kind of make it permanent, but the general idea is you have to go from one heat bubble to the next heat bubble. You could either use a pike or a sparrow, and you want to get to each heat bubble before you hit the frostbite of 9, and then it turns to 10, because if you get to 10, you die. It's really not too bad. There's infinite respawns. There's not like restricted lives or anything like that. So you just kind of go through and just sort of figure it out a little bit. As you get more comfortable and you figure out if you decide you want to use the shelter from the storm thing, then that would be how you kind of skip around most of it. And shelter from the storm is the little buff you get when you're inside those heat bubbles that lets you know you're safe. When you step out of them, you get frostbite unless you do the cheese thing. So there you go. There's a real brief thing with the Sparrow deal. So we're going to now go ahead and get on into the first encounter that gives you loot, the Cyber Security encounter inside of the Deep Stone Crypt raid. To complete this encounter, you have to destroy all of the battery cells in this Crypt Security. There are 3 in this white room, and there are 3 in the dark room. And there's a sequence of events that must be done in order to actually damage said batteries. We have 2 roles that are key and allow for the battery cells to be damaged, and they are Operator and Scanner. Operator does the actions, Scanner sees what needs to be done, and they communicate things with each other back and forth. Briefly speaking, what the Scanner does is when they have the Scanner role, they are either going to be on the white or the dark side, and they would run around looking through these different windows that are in the floor and telling the operator which ones are glowing yellow, and then the operator knows they need to destroy those panels. Then that scanner would go to the terminal and put in that augment into the terminal so the other side can pick it up, because the door is closed, and so you can't actually run back and forth without using a couple of strategies that result in some triumph. So since this is just a guide on how to do it, we're going to ignore the fancy stuff you can do here later on. So that is generically what the scanners must do, and I have a layout visual where we'll show you guys how I suggest you approach calling these things and where everything's out. Just know the scanner stays up top, and they've got these little panels on the left or dark side that they look down through the windows to see the panels down below, because you can see they're kind of pillars of like computer data. And on the right side, or the white room, they're more like tubes of like some radiolarian almost looking fluid that's going through that have windows so you can look down below, and that's just kind of the difference between the 2 rooms. The left side dark room is more like computer data pillars. Right side white room, they're more like tubes of radiolarian fluid. The operator, which is that red symbol, which also is what you grab from the terminal to start the encounter, destroys those panels that are called out by the scanners down below. And if they take too long or shoot the wrong one, there's a fire that goes off in that bottom floor that kills the operator. It's worth knowing there can only be 1 person in that below floor, the operator room, at a time, and once an operator is down there, they can't really get out until the encounter is over, or unless they die and someone else has to get that buff. Now, if someone with the role does die, that buff will either reappear on an ad, or for a brief period of time you can pick that buff off up off the floor. If the operator dies down below, that operator will always spawn with an ad. Usually it seems to be on the darkroom side, but just keep an eye out for that particular ad if your operator gets terminated. For the scanner, you should be able just to pick it up off the floor because the scanner should be on the main floor, but if you take too long, it'll just spawn on an ad. It's also worth knowing that to use these different terminals to pass these buffs around, you must destroy servitors. If there's any servitors that are up, and I believe they're called sentinels, that augment terminal is unavailable, and so you have to kill the servitor in order to be able to pass around any of these buffs. Now, to do the damage part, the operator needs to get the scanner buff. So what will happen is once the operator has shot the 2 panels on the left side and the 2 that are on the right side, or it could be the other way as well, it doesn't matter. Point is, as long as a total of 4 correct panels have been shot, you will then be able to damage these batteries. You'll have like an alarm go off, you'll see explodey shanks spawn in, and things just get a little bit more hectic. But since the operator has the operator buff down below, they need the scanner buff in order to actually see what battery cells to destroy. So what the operator does is they put their operator role into that augmentation terminal that is in their operator room. Someone above that does not have the scanner buff grabs the operator role out of a terminal, and then the scanner puts the scanner role into the terminal, which allows the operator down below to grab the scanner, and then they tell you which batteries to shoot. So it's a little bit of a game of you got a chicken, an alligator, and a crow trying to cross the river, but the alligator won't go with the chicken, kind of a thing. And it's not crazy hard. Just know if you need to transfer roles around, you just put whatever role you don't need into the augmentation terminal, someone else grabs it, and then you put the role that that person needs into the augmentation terminal, so that way the person can pick up the role that is desired. The same thing goes when you're passing around the scanner buff. So when the scanner gets, say, the dark side room callouts done, they go to the terminal, put their scanner role in the terminal, and the white side scanner, or the white and right, they sound really similar, goes to the terminal and picks up that role, and they can now do the scanning for that white or right side of the room. So that's how you pass around these different roles. So now it seems like a good point to go ahead and give you guys the layout, and then after the layout, we'll talk about the damage phase. So here is the graphic Crazy Corgi Queen came up with, thank you very much, for the room and the layout of everything. It's important to note that the point of view is from the operator's perspective, and that is symbolized by that red box with the arrows pointing to those batteries, which are inside of that lightish gray circle with L123, R321, and that is the point of view, which is why the white room is the right side and the dark room is the left side. So now that we got that orientation figured out, now we're going to go ahead and talk about the room. The orientation is key because perspectives can easily be very different. Let's just look real quick with an example. When you come into the room, you come in by that R5 symbol, which for most people would feel like that means that is the back of the room, and where the operator is at is the front of the room. And so if you don't have the same orientation laid out, you might give a call out for R1 and call it R5, and then the person from the operator goes to R5, which in your perspective is R1. That is why we have this layout the way it is, because everyone then is looking the same way. You'll notice that we have all of these numbers paired with the letter next to these blue circles, with the exception of L3. The blue circles represent the windows you look down through when you're the scanner to spot the panels. The number with letters represents that corresponding panel. For example, let's look at R5, R4. That blue circle is the window the scanner on the right or white side uses, and that R5 is the last panel, hence the R5, and it is on more of a wall, and that R4 is the second to last panel, which is why it's R4, and it's on more of a pillar. The numbers and letter, the red boxes, correlate as approximately as we could to where the location of the actual panel is, so that way when you guys are looking at this, you have a better idea of where each panel is according to its window, which is why the L3 panel is way off to the left, and it's the only one that's kind of off by itself. For some reason, you can see it through that little circle that says Windows, but it's not nearly as close to the window. You have to get kind of at an angle off to the right. I usually crouch down a little bit, and that is how you can see that panel way off there to the left called L3. So I just want to explain that very briefly. You can also see where the augmentation terminal is at. The reason the red star is there is because the operator role is red, and that is how you start the encounter. But once you pick up that role, you can use that augment terminal for any kind of switching around of scanner or operator. It's just that's where you pick up operator, and that's why the red star is there. The gold star and the dark side on the top left is where the scanner ad usually spawns. So typically you're going to have at the beginning of the encounter, the scanner on the dark side is going to almost always be the first one to get callouts, because I have yet to have the scanner spawn on the white or right side first. So just know if you are the scanner on the dark side at the beginning of each encounter, you will most likely be the first one giving out those callouts. So how I suggest you guys normally proceed about this would be you already have your team split up, because once you grab that operator role, all the doors that allow you to move between the rooms close shut. So make sure you have your ad clear on each side, you have your scanner set up on each side, and you already know who your operator is. Now, if you want to have a backup operator in case the operator gets terminated because maybe you're too slow or whatever, there are ads below in the operator room, that is not the worst idea. You could think of this as 3 teams of 2. You got 2 scanners, 2 ad clears, and 2 operators. You have one operator be the backup and one be the primary, and that is kind of the setup for teams and the layout of the room. So now we're going to kind of end the video by telling you guys more about the sequence of events, of what happens, and explaining the damage phase. Just remember, keep in your head the damage phase, those batteries around there in the center, L1, L2, L3, R3, R2, R1, are based around perspective of both the people above and the operator who now has the scanner role for damage phase down below. So let's end this video by the sequence of events. And hopefully you all get to comment down below if this video helped you out and you were able to easily clear this encounter. So how it's going to all start is you go into the room, put down that rally flag, and you have your designated team split to where they need to go. Operators should probably go stand by the terminal. Then you would have your scanner go to the dark room, your scanner stay in the white room. Then your other ad clear go to the dark room and one stay in the white room. At which point, when you're all ready, you have your operator pick up the operator role from that augment terminal. Then on the dark side, you have the scanner then needs to pick up the role from one of the ads that spawns really quickly and begin looking through those windows like you can see I am doing here on screen on the white room. Once they have those 2 panels figured out, those panels are glowing yellow like you saw right there, they would then call out to the operator the corresponding number. I would suggest using something like L4, L5, or R1, R3, whatever those panels may be, just like on that graphic. Then once the operator is like, alright, cool, I got it, that is when I would suggest the operator goes down below, because once the operator goes below, that timer that sets off the fire room begins. And so you can save yourself a little bit of time by having the scanner in the dark room calling out what those 2 panels are before the operator goes down. Once the operator is like, yep, I got those 2 numbers, I'm good, that scanner from the dark room then puts the scanner into the augment terminal, and the scanner on the white room picks it up from the terminal and does the same thing while the operator is down below dealing with ads, staying alive, and destroying whatever those remaining 2 panels are. Once those 4 panels in total have been destroyed, you'll hear an alarm go off, there will be like exploding shanks that spawn, and you will see the shields around the batteries raise up, and that means you can damage them. But you can only damage specific ones. If you shoot the wrong one, it will be a wipe. And how you know which one is the right one is that the operator down below needs to get the scanner buff. So once you have those terms pop up on the left and it's time for damage, operator needs to put their operator roll into the augment terminal. That there is one down there with them, and then someone above that does not have the scanner roll grabs the operator roll. At which point the scanner then puts their scanner roll into the augment terminal, and the person that was the operator that is down below in that room by themselves grabs the scanner roll, and they are then able to see these different battery cells that are located in a circle down below and under the room. And in this gameplay here, you will be able to spot it before too long, because I end up going down there, and I'll make sure to tell you guys where it's at. Something I would suggest when you guys are operators, especially if you are new, is everyone trying to go below and just familiarize themselves with the halves of the room, because they look much different down below than they do up top. But if I was to try to do both the whole time, this would be an incredibly long video. So just know that down below looks much different than it does up top, and so you want to make sure you're familiarize yourself with it. Now, to know which battery you have to destroy, there's a little gray pillar thing that has these mini batteries that are crackling with electricity that are down below, and you will see one that is yellow if you have the scanner buff during damage phase, and that is which one you know to destroy. And this is where the L123 comes in, and R321. It is all based on the perspective of left to right as you look at the batteries. That is why the numbers on the dark side or left side, it goes 1, 2, 3, and then on the right side, on the white, if you look at it, it's the opposite from top to bottom of 3, 2, 1, because it's based off of left to right. If your team does find it easier, you could do things like dark room left, middle, right when you call out batteries, but from feedback from others, the numbering system seems to be the easiest way for folks to go, which is why we used it in the graphic. Now, once you have that battery called out, so the operator down below now has the scanner buff, and like, hey, destroy left 1. Everyone just blows the crap out of that cell. It does not take tons and tons of ammo, so I would suggest just staying on your appropriate side, and if you are on dark side or left side, you just know you need to listen for those left room callouts, and same with the right side. I would personally only really join teams once you're on the last battery or two, because if those doors close, you get locked out, and you could accidentally end up with a side that can't do absolutely anything. So that is how this phase works. Once you destroy the batteries, you either destroy all of them, or you only destroy some of them and have to repeat the whole cycle again until all 6 cells are destroyed. So that's the encounter. That's how you get the batteries down. There are a couple of mechanics to know about that are very, very minor, and we're going to talk about the servitors as well as what the wipe mechanics are. The servitors, when they spawn, they shut down the terminals, meaning you cannot transfer your augments around. So it's very crucial to shoot down those servitors as soon as you can. When it comes to things like weapons, I would suggest stuff like shotguns and xenophage and grenade launchers. Swords normally are fantastic, but if you're wanting weapons for DPSing those batteries, for some reason swords don't seem to work very well, and my guess is because the batteries are not immediately on the ground, so xenophage and grenade launchers seem to work incredibly well. The wipe mechanics are if you do not pick up the destroy those panels in time, the operator gets destroyed, which usually results in a wipe. But the main and really only true wipe mechanic is those batteries have a timer. When you look at them and you start the encounter, you can kind of see dots starting to appear, and the closer to the end of that little ring they get, the redder those dots are. If those dots get to completely red and get all the way around the bottom of those batteries, then that turns all the batteries red, you can't damage them, and you get wiped. If you shoot the wrong battery during damage phase, you also get wiped. So the wipe mechanics are all purely around the batteries. You can usually save any other mistakes, whether it be the operator dies down below, although it can be tricky depending upon your group skill level, and then of course trying to figure out with the communication of what shoots what, because if you shoot the wrong panel down below, the operator dies, which just causes more confusion. And usually the biggest struggle with this encounter is just calling out the right things from everyone's same perspective, which is why that graphic is going to be super duper helpful. I would highly suggest you guys take a screenshot of that, scroll back in the video, and maybe send that to your raid mates if you guys are a little bit new and not sure what to do. Should be incredibly useful to you guys and very, very helpful. Lastly, make sure you guys remember that the operator does the action, the scanner sees what needs to be done. That generically holds true throughout the entire raid, and it gets changed a little bit, but the mechanics of this, of the operator and the scanner, more or less carry throughout the whole thing. So if you're able to get familiar and kind of used to what does what and passing around those different roles, the other encounters will feel a little bit easier than you're trying to figure out all the stuff we have to deal with. Alright, the next encounter is Atrax. I'm probably saying his name wrong because I'm bad at that. That is the encounter where most folks got stuck at, including my team on the day 1 raid. It is probably the hardest encounter, in my opinion at least, of the entire raid, and that will most likely be the next video, working on getting some visuals and graphics done up for you guys. So please, please, please let me know if the visual for this encounter was very useful, and if there's anything you kind of wish maybe would be a little bit either better for you, if you're like, ah, it was too much information, so that way the next video has the best possible visuals for you guys that we can provide. I really appreciate you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, comment down below to let me know if this was a helpful video, and I would like to apologize for the video quality. Currently, the only thing I can use is Twitch. Some days it records fantastic and there's like no clipping whatsoever, and other days it's rather fuzzy and blurry, like happened quite a bit throughout the footage I had to use for this particular guide. So I apologize for that, and thank you for sticking with me. If you would like to help me with my endeavors to fix said issues, I do have a list on Shoutout of tech that will make the quality of videos significantly better as I work to save up for them myself, if you wish to support the channel that way. Otherwise, free ways to support the channel would be subscribing, liking the video, sharing the video, and commenting on the video about this was helpful, and just have a conversation. Even just saying hello helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and it's a completely free way to be like, yep, I support this guy and the guide he made. I'm gonna subscribe and comment on the video and hit the like button. You guys are all fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. I am Church of Caboose. Have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.